collectives, and emerging arts organizations in the St. Louis region and beyond. MAPS promotes new and sustainable growth in the arts by providing funding opportunities, consultations, and access to solutions for current issues that affect artists. Our Mapping It Out sessions are a year-long series of short presentations on best practices and simple things you can do to grow your art practice. Each month, MAPS board members will discuss diverse topics that they are experts in and answer your questions. I also want to take a minute to invite you to save the date for our next Mapping It Out session on January 13th with MAPS co-founder Liz Dykman, who will cover how to plan a project. Registration is free and we welcome a $5 suggested donation. For today's session, Brigid will present for about 20 minutes and we'll save a few minutes at the end for questions. During this time, please keep yourself muted and feel free to use the chat to submit questions and discuss with one another. After the presentation, you'll receive a survey. Please make sure to fill this out as it's really helpful and valuable feedback for us. And I'll introduce Brigid here for a second and then turn it over. Brigid Flynn is the co-founder of MAPS and has 20 years of arts administration and fundraising experience. She's worked at the Wexner Center for the Arts, the New York Foundation for the Arts in New York City, and served as the Director of Institutional Giving for the St. Louis Art Museum from 2008 to 2016. Today, she's the Senior Associate Director of Development for the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts at Washington University. She's a past board member of the Association of Fundraising Professionals St. Louis chapter and Creative Reaction Lab, and has been a presenter at several major conferences. She holds a BA from Loyola University Chicago and an MA from the Ohio State University. Welcome, Brigid. We're excited to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you, Caitlin, and thank you all for joining us today. Let me get my screen share up and running here. Oop. Click the wrong button. One moment, please. There we go. All right. And you may want to put your screen into side-by-side view if you want just to see just me or just my slides. So great, thank you, Liz. So we're going to be talking today about cold call emails. And before we begin, I want to hear from you all, and you can put it in the chat, or if you can unmute yourself and want to shout out. Why would you ever write and send an email to someone you don't know?
I'll shout out that I had to do this once when I worked for a publishing company and we wanted the local arts critic to cover something for us.
Yes, yep, getting press, definitely. Anybody else?
Let someone who's influential in the field know about our work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anybody else?
Find somebody who does the work you want to do that you don't know. Yep.
Just like trying to find a partner for a project. Well, inviting somebody to participate in a public program, photographers, yep, got to do it all the time. So I wanted to just kind of go over the reasons why you would even send an email like this, like we're going to be talking about today. And I also want to differentiate what we're going to be talking about from like marketing email blasts that, of course, you would be sending out to a big list. And there's a whole different strategy for those. So what we're going to be talking about today, which I think you all know, is the more targeted, directed, reaching out to a single person, but that you may or may not have actually met. So you might want to let them know, I think I'm the right person for this job or this opportunity. I need your help or advice or your advocacy. I admire your work and want to tell you how much it has impacted me, right? Like sometimes a fan letter can actually get you somewhere. I believe in what you are doing. How can I help? That is a great reason to email somebody out of the blue. If you hear about someone who's working on something and you want to be a part of it, or you feel like you have some skills that you could bring, that's a great reason to reach out. And thank you. If someone has done something that has benefited you in some way, even if you don't know them, that is a wonderful way to reach out, and that's a wonderful reason to reach out. So there's all kinds of reasons why you might have to send a cold call email to somebody, or you might be motivated to send a message to someone. So before we get into the details of how we're going to craft our email, I wanted to just take a moment and think about sending these types of emails is part of a bigger process of the work that you are doing for your creative career. And so this email, even though it's a cold call email, it's not going to exist in a vacuum, right? So, you know, you've got, if you know, you're working on your artist career, you've got your website, you've got your online portfolio, your Instagram, you know, if you have a blog, a newsletter, a Patreon, but your presence as a working creative is something that, you know, is again a whole other presentation, but is something that you've got in your roster anyway. And of course, when you get to this part, what's the first thing they're going to do is Google you or look for your website. So you want to have that bedrock. That hopefully leads to, you know, your participation in events, in attending events and openings, being part of programs, you know, in the sector where you want to be working, volunteering, workshops. If you know, are creating, producing any kind of online videos or music, that's part of your online presence or part of your presence too. And that, of course, helps you grow your network of friends and contacts, teachers, former classmates, etc. And we always want to keep in mind, and this is part of, you know, sending out emails as well, that connections outside the art world or outside of your industry are just as and sometimes more important. You know, who's more likely to, you know, buy a work of art that you've created, or you know, maybe be interested in supporting you, your dentist, you know, or somebody else who's in your field who's in exactly the same position as you are, right? So so keep in mind that everybody and anybody could be a contact. So before we keep going, I want to say a very quick word about networking, which I know is something that a lot of artists really don't like, or try and, you know, kind of gives you a shudder. And I just want to say, and again, we could do a whole other presentation on networking, but schmoozing at openings and events, which I think is what a lot of people think of when they think of networking, it's actually at the end of the day not really that effective. It's important, I think, sometimes to, you know, be out and about and support other people, but it's that in and of itself is actually not like the core of networking. Sending an email the next day to the artist to tell them how much you enjoyed your work, that's way more powerful than, you know, than what we might think of as schmoozing. So, you know, as with friendships, the power of your network can be accessed only if you put in as much as you get out, and, you know, that you can be as useful to others as they are to you. So be generous with your own time, your own connections, with sharing your gratitude, and with sharing your own advice. Sometimes we can get kind of possessive of our contacts or, you know, the connections that we have. The more that you put into your network and the more that you put out there, the more you're going to get back. So just to come back to this quickly, your network is going to be the source of your references, your recommendations, ideas, suggested connections, and a personal recommendation in the art world is gold. This little quote is from a resource that I really like called ArtQuest. It really, I think, emphasizes the importance of how your network is the source of these recommendations when you know, put it out there that you're looking for help with something. And then all of these things can lead up to and be part of this, you know, maybe outreach to someone that you may not know. So before you contact, you know, a gallerist, a producer, an editor, a potential donor or supporter, you need to know the answer to one question. What is the one thing that you want them to do? So I'm getting close to the holidays. We have a little Muppet Christmas Carol there, but a communication should do one thing. It should, you know, tell somebody something or ask for one thing. If you try and craft your email and you want to ask about, would you do a portfolio review? And also, do you know about any job openings? And also, I want to tell you about this project that I'm working on. You're starting to write a newsletter, and that's not what you want to send. So think about the one thing that you want to ask someone to do. Is it give money? Is it come to this event? Is it respond to your invitation for something? But you only get one thing in a targeted email, an effective email. So start drafting your message with the following mantra in mind to make your case. And some of you have probably heard me say these before, and I have to credit another artist here in St. Louis for sharing this with me. But that is why you, why them, and why now. So, and we're going to get into more specific examples of how to put this into words. But when you're reaching out to someone that you don't know or they don't know you, you do need to validate yourself. And think about, what would you want someone else to say to this person about you or your work or your experience? If you imagine you have a mutual friend or a mutual connection, what would you want that person to tell this person you're reaching out to about you? And think about how you might communicate that then yourself. Why them and not someone else? So your message must be personalized. Do your homework, get a sense of who this person is, what's going to be valuable to them, what's going to be intriguing to them. Sometimes this is called a theory of mind, trying to get inside someone else's head. And even if you're promoting yourself, the message is about how what you're talking about can benefit them, how it's going to be rewarding for them to help you, whether that's emotionally, psychologically, professionally, if you feel like you have something that is going to be beneficial to their business or what they're doing. And why now? You do not need me to tell you that everybody has like email overload. We all have way too many emails loading up in our inbox. So why should they reply to yours first? Why is now the right time for them to meet you? And if you're not sure of that answer, well, let me also say, you may need to manufacture a little urgency, and we'll talk about that. But why is now the right time for them to meet you? And if there's not that urgency, then maybe this isn't the right time to reach out. But it's also okay to say, if you have something you're working on and there is a deadline coming up, it's okay to say, I would appreciate hearing from you in the near future because X, Y, Z. So getting to crafting your message. Some of you may also know, I love this quote, this letter is longer than usual. I would have written a shorter one, but I did not have the time. So I will just tell you, in my own work, I very often, and as Caitlin said, I'm a fundraiser here at the Sam Fox School. And, so very often in my emails, I am asking for donations. And I will spend 30, 40 minutes crafting an email, and then I edit, and get it down to where I need it. And I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, sometimes I write this email and then I pick up the phone and I use it as a script. But you may or may not have that opportunity. But effective emails are short, effective sentences are short. Write a draft, make it shorter, aim for 5 sentences, because that is about the attention span that you will get. And just one more note, do not write your draft in an actual email program with your addressee's email loaded and ready. Do not do that. Do not do it. If anybody is questioning why I have that on there, you don't want to find out the hard way, right? So for your salutation, I sort of anticipated this question. 99% of the time, it's fine to use someone's first name. Email is informal. Even if you've never met. I mean, the one exception to that might be like if it's an elected official, if it's someone who is very senior to you in some way, whether age or whatever their position may be. If it's more comfortable for you to address them as dear Mr. or Ms., then feel free to do so. But if the relationship is that distant and formal, you may actually consider sending them a real letter instead of an email. So for your first sentence, think about how you're going to make that sincere connection or introduction. This is kind of the why you part of our email here. So, if you have a mutual friend or connection or that recommendation that you can reference, that is gold. That's a great way to start an email. It was a pleasure to meet you at the recent event. If you did have a chance to just say hello and introduce yourself and then gracefully exit, this is your follow-up email after meeting them. I want to tell you how much I enjoyed the exhibition when I visited last week. You've made the effort to connect with something that they're doing, right? And so that's the thing you have in common. They worked on it, you enjoyed it. Thank you for organizing Music Fest. It's an incredible program. I look forward to it every year. Or introducing yourself sort of as someone with experience in something that they care about. I've been making short documentary films for the past 6 years, focusing on a topic I know you're passionate about. So just introducing yourself in kind of a validating kind of way. Have a specific and timely purpose or call to action or request. This is what do you want them to do? I've just completed a new body of work and would like to invite you to a virtual studio visit or an actual studio visit. I'd like to ask if you would share your thoughts with me about this program I'm considering applying to. We had a suggestion about trying to get press. As a fan of your writing about local architecture, I wanted you to know about an upcoming project. Or this is offering help to be part of something. If there's any opportunities for me to offer my skills in graphic design. But it is a specific reason why you're reaching out to them now. If you are proposing a visit or a meeting, please, please, please offer specific dates, times, and when we are not in the midst of a pandemic, even a location if you're suggesting to meet up face to face, right? Would you be available on these days at these times? I've proactively thought about where it would be convenient for you, since you are generously donating your time to meet with me. Or could we meet, if you're wide open, could we meet this week? I'm available any day, but Tuesday is best. It is not beholden to the person who you are asking for their time, for them to find a time that works for you, right? You tell them, these would be the best times. Could we meet then? It gives urgency to your request. It takes the pressure off them. Even if they were to respond, you don't have this back and forth with scheduling. It's just do the work in advance and suggest some times. Can we get together sometime is never going to lead to, I have ignored emails like that myself, to be honest. It is too vague, it's too much work. I've got other things to do than to figure out when some time is going to work for you. So please just be proactive with that. Then make your case. Why should they respond to you, right? Why will their help be meaningful and rewarding for them? As an admirer of your work in this area, I greatly appreciate your insights on the new directions I'm exploring with this series or with this project. I'm excited to join you and others working in this field to help make St. Louis a better place to live and create. But make the case why they should respond to you in a way that thinks about what's going to be valuable for them. And then thank you and sign off gracefully. So thank you so much for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Or I would be eager to help make your next project a reality. I hope I can look forward to meeting you soon. But write a sincere thank you. Don't just thanks, Brigid, right? Take the time to write the thank you note. Okay. Oh no, pop quiz. What was not included in any of those sample sentences I just shared with you? Did anybody notice anything?
A signature?
Oh, we're going to get to signature. I did not use any exclamation points. We have a overflow of exclamation points in email, and I was actually reading about this. Libby, you said no links. You definitely do include hyperlinks in your email. We'll come back to that. But there's a tendency because emails and texts like phone texts, tend to sort of drain tone. We tend to overcompensate and put a lot of exclamation points in there. I'm guilty of it as well. When I told you that I write my emails and then I go back and edit them, I also will take out exclamation points and put a period. You don't need to fill your email with exclamation points. So it just makes you look more professional. So a few more do's. Do have a professional email signature with your contact information, pronouns, website, social media handles. A lot of people, their signatures are like this long with quotes and, all kinds of things. If you have a lot of different projects or a lot of social media presence, especially if you work in marketing or you have just a lot of different things going on, I think that's appropriate. But images or like a quote and an inspirational quote in a different color, I would maybe choose when you're going to have all of that. When you're reaching out to someone, especially, if you want to appear professional. Have a succinct, specific subject line. I've definitely talked with people and have had the conversation about sometimes the subject line is the hardest part of writing an email. But honestly, I think one of the best places to start is to think about what's the verb that you want in your subject line. Because that is sort of a thing that people are going to respond to. Nice to meet you last week at the gallery. Invitation for studio visit in January, right? This is what this email is about. I'm inviting you to a studio visit at this time. Or a question about this upcoming program, which is more likely, I think, to prompt someone to open it and actually read what you've sent. I would avoid one-word vague subject lines like hello. I mean, they just feel kind of spammy. And then frankly, if they do want to go back and find your email later, it's really hard to remember what was this email about if the subject line is just hello. And have a friend proofread it. If it's that important, send it to somebody else first and say, would you mind looking this over? Or send a draft to yourself and check it an hour later. I definitely do that. I've definitely written things, save them, go do something else, come back, and that's when you notice the typo, or that's when you think, oh, you know what, I should really phrase this differently. And a few don'ts. Don't apologize, just give disclaimers or bribes. So I'm sorry to bother you, or I hate to ask you for this. I'm gonna quote one of my favorite TED Talks here about asking for help, where the presenter, Heidi Grant, says, emails or requests for help that say, if there was any other way I could have done this without your help, I would have, really doesn't make that person feel valued. So you're emailing them, you don't apologize, right? If you feel bad about it, then why are you bothering to do it? So if you need to start by writing that and then going back and deleting it, that's fine, but don't start an email with an apology. Do not make vague requests to connect or pick your brain. Aside from sounding kind of tedious, that's not a clear request for action. That doesn't give the recipient of your email any indication of how they can best help you. How is connecting with them going to help you? So really think about, again, going back to that slide about what's the thing you want them to do. Don't put that work on them to figure out how they can help you if you're just reaching out of the blue. Don't ask for information that you could easily get some other way, like Google. If if that's your pretense for emailing somebody, try and Google it first or try and figure it out another way first. You're just going to annoy them that you didn't do your homework. Don't try to be clever or funny or irreverent. It just doesn't come through. And that may sound like, my gosh, that may sound weird to say, but sometimes when we get nervous, if we're nervous, even in an email, we can try and compensate for that or try and make it seem like we're more confident by trying to be funny or trying to, have kind of a more familiar relationship with somebody than we otherwise might. And it's probably going to fall flat unless you already know them really well. Same thing, don't make generalizing statements or presumptive remarks or any other observations that imply familiarity with someone you don't know. It's amazing in seeing, various types of writing by artists, whether it's like artist statements or proposals for projects, how often there's a tendency to include things like, well, everybody knows that, this political system is a joke, or everybody knows that this is corrupt, or everybody, and that, that's, you don't know, right? Like, you don't know what their personal experience is. So it's really best just to avoid it. And it's probably not going to be necessary with whatever you're sending anyway. I feel like I need like the Twitter clapping hands for this one. Don't ask someone to do something for free that they are normally paid to do. That's not a good reason to reach out. So just don't do it. And don't confuse a genuine opportunity to engage as a moment to like shoot your shot. And again, sometimes people might mistake, hey, I got this person's email. I got the email for this curator. I got the email for this director. I'm just going to ask them for an exhibition. I'm just going to ask them for, like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to, and it's like, we're not talking about like asking out a supermodel on a date here, right? Like, this is, that's not really, I think, the best way to build a relationship, which is what you want to do. I think going back to, again, those core things that we talked about, how is the reason why you are emailing them, how could it be beneficial to them? Whether that's going to be rewarding for them because they will feel rewarded for helping someone in their career, because they may be genuinely interested in what you're working on and want to be a part of it or write about it or collaborate with you in some way. But it's not a moment to ask for the moon just because you happen to get somebody's email, right? And don't forget, MAPS is here to help. So if you, after this presentation, are interested in getting some more advice about networking, or take the next steps for your career, or if there's other, as you know, many of you know, we also do grant application reviews. And I know we have a lot of folks from outside St. Louis on this call, and that is available to you as well now that we can do virtual meetings. So you can always book a consultation with myself or some of the other MAPS board members at our website. You can learn about fiscal sponsorship for projects that we offer. You can sign up for the newsletter. And as Caitlin said, we have other mapping out sessions coming up in the spring. So with that, I hope everybody is feeling inspired and excited to think about ways to connect and reach out and keep moving forward with your art career. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And it looks like I went a little over 20 minutes because we're just at 12:30. But if people can hang out, I definitely can stick around for 5-10 minutes if there's any discussion or any questions. Were there any
feel free to put questions in the chat. Yeah, let's just hit that, or just pipe in. I had a question, Brigid. I was, well, let's answer Lizzie's first about links and what to do with links in these emails.
Yes, definitely include links especially if you're sharing specific information about a project, or if you are if you're sharing your portfolio. Yes, definitely include links.
Should you format them?
What do you mean?
Should you put a real hyperlink that says my portfolio is here?
Oh, no, I would recommend, please click here, and then you can format it so that the text is hyperlinked. Yes, I would do that.
And Dave asks, what about follow-ups if you don't get a response after a couple days?
I think if you were clear that your request was time sensitive, if you were asking about, like I'd given the example of, I'm interested in applying to this program, and the deadline is January 5th. I think that if there was a clear time sensitive thing in your email, I think that's perfectly fine to follow up. If it's not, if it was like a studio visit and it's not, you know, invitation or something like that, I think it is okay after, you know, 2 to 3 weeks to send a follow-up, but send one follow-up and just, you know, a gracious, I just wanted to ask, you know, if you would still be interested. If not, thank you for your consideration, and then let it go. Bless and release, as a former boss of mine. But I do think one follow-up is okay.
Do we have any other questions?
Tiffany?
I'm working on it. There you go.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. After you have a successful conversation with them, and is it overkill to send them a thank you, or even if it's and then show them the result or anything like that? So can you link the result to them, like, oh, it ended up being a show, or now this is on blah blah blah?
Oh my gosh. So it is never overkill to send a thank you. Oh my God, please send thank yous. And I didn't even get to that because I was trying to be conscious of time. But yes, if they respond, if someone helps you, the best thing you can do is send them a thank you note. And if you can send them a thank you that says, your help allowed me to do this, that is gold. That is the best thing you can do for your art career, in my opinion. So yes, good question. Thank you for asking. Anybody
Any
else?
others?
Oh, I know that looks like the chat is okay. So Libby says, what about asking for a mailing address to send them a book of your work? I guess I guess you would be asking, would you be interested in this? Could I send it to you? I wouldn't just say, what's your address? Because I want to send this to you, right? I would say, would you be interested in this? If so, please let me know your preferred address, not your home address or but your preferred address, because they may prefer you send it to a business address. So I think that would be what is the one thing you want to ask them, is, would you be interested in this? You know, could I send it to you? But not what's your address. Okay. Well, I know we are over time. You can certainly email us or request a consultation if you have other questions. But thank you all. I hope that everybody feels motivated, maybe to send that email you've been putting off, or knowing that you should send, or maybe thinking about something you hadn't considered of somebody that you want to reach out to. So thank you all again.